Hello creatives, welcome to Style by Marvellgreg. If you're new here, you're welcome, and if you're an old subscriber, thank you for constantly supporting this channel. And today I'm so excited to guide you through step-by-step tutorial on how to draft a 3-part corset even if you're a complete beginner. Yes, this tutorial is carefully broken down to help you understand the basics of corset construction, from shaping the bodies to dividing the panels and creating that perfect cup. So whether you are a fashion student or a sewing lover or just curious about making your own corset, then you're in the right place, because wherever you are in the world, you just have to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that whenever I post new tutorials on this channel, you'll be the first to get notified, because that's what we do here. We share pattern drafting and sewing tutorial and everything fashion related. So if all of this is what you're interested in, then you're definitely in the right place. Without further ado, let's get right into today's project. So here I have my pattern paper, just as seen here, and I've gone ahead to rule out my starting point. So I'll just tape it down so it doesn't move around while we are drafting. So the next step now is to begin imputing my basic measurements. So this pattern paper is not on fold, it's just I just ensure that it's exactly the measurement I need. So I'm going to impute my measurements on my bust point there, my under bust, and my waistline, and I'll go ahead and highlight all these lines for you to see. So at this point, if you want your corset to be way below your waistline, this is where you will go ahead and add probably an extra 5 inches or 6 inches, and that is what I'm going to do. So for my waistline, I'm going to be adding an extra 5.5 inches. So I'll just label all these lines I've highlighted so that you will understand. So like I said, for my waistline, I went ahead to mark an extra 5.5 inches because I want the corset to be longer than the waistline a little bit. But if you want your corset to just stop at your waistline exactly, you can go ahead and leave your measurement at the waistline. So I highlight my line. So that place now is going to be my top length. It's going to be our length of our top. So that's basically it. So we'll just go ahead and impute our other basic measurements, which is first our shoulder line. I'll go ahead and mark the shoulder line that I'm working with. So go ahead and mark the one you're working with. Mine, I was working with 8 inches. I'll mark that, then I'll go down by 1 inches for our shoulder slope. Then from the shoulder slope, I'll go down by 8 inches to get my chest line. Then I'll go ahead and highlight it with a straight line like so. Then what I have at my shoulder line, I will repeat it at that line, that's my chest line, so as to enable us get an accurate straight line up ahead. I'll go ahead and label this my chest line for you to see. Then the next step is to impute the round bust measurement I'm working with, which is about 10.3 inches, and I'll just go ahead and curve it all the way to the top, because this is a corset and will not be needing the armhole, but I'm just doing this. I'll impute my 3x3 neckline measurements so that you can understand. So this won't be needing the top part, but if you are going to be needing a yoke, you're definitely going to be needing the top part. So I just did that for you to understand. So next, now we're going to go ahead and impute nipple to nipple measurement. So the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 4 inches. I'll go ahead and impute this from my bust point all the way to the top length. So note that this method can work for a plus size, so just go ahead and ensure that you took the right measurement of whomever you are making this for, and this method is actually going to help you come out with a good result. So for my bust point there, I came down by about 1.5 inches. Then at my top length, I went out by half an inch, that's 0.5 inch on both sides. Then I'm going to be connecting those half an inch all the way to the points I marked below my bust points, just like I'm doing in this video. Just pay attention and watch what I'm doing and you will understand. So after doing that, now the next part now is to go ahead and I'm going to measure what I have at my shoulder, so I'm going to divide it by 2. So what I have at that point, I will just go ahead and divide it by 2. Then I'll go ahead and connect the line all the way down to the bust points area, like so. This is because I don't want a straight line, so I just use the curvy part of my curved rule to highlight the straight line. So the next step now, I'm going to measure what I have from my bust points to my under bust. I'll measure what I have, and what I have there is 4 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark this 4 inches all the way round to get my, just to get like a guide for when I'm imputing my corset. So I'll just do this all the way round, and we'll go about the next step. So I'll just do this quickly. I'll forward the video and just do it quickly so it doesn't waste time, but you can also do without this, but I'm doing this because this is a beginner friendly tutorial and I want to take it step by step as possible for everyone to understand. So after doing that, now we're going to begin drafting our corset. So at that point, I went by 0.7 inches on both sides, that's at my under bust, and I'm going to be connecting it all the way to the darts leg at the down part. I'll just go ahead and highlight it just like I'm doing here with my marker. Along the line, I noticed the marker was not so clear, so I had to just look for another marker that I will use so that it will be clear for you to see. Then I'll go ahead and connect with a curvy line from that point, that's that 1.5 inches I came down by from my bust point. I'll go ahead and connect it all the way down just like I'm doing in this video. So the next part now is to go ahead and tighten the upper part of our cup, and to do that I'll measure the total of the darts I've taken from my under bust, and what I have there, I think I had about 1.5 inches or so, and what I did is that I went out by half inches on one side and 0.7 inches on one side. So I think I had about 1.3 inches. So I just divided it. I took a smaller portion at the side that is facing the center front of my corset, and I took a larger portion at the other side. So for instance, I took 0.5 inches on the side that is facing the chest line, that is the center front, and 0.7 inches on the side that is facing the armhole curve. I hope you understand what I've done here so far. So now after doing this, the next step now is to begin curving our corset, and to do that I also went ahead to mark another 0.5 inches on the upper part because I want it to tighten the bust area very well, because I'm working with a plus size for this particular corset and I want it to really give a very nice fitting. I'm just going to go ahead and take an extra 0.5 inches there just to tighten it very well. So this part now, I'm going to go down from my chest line by 0.5 inches. After going out, I will go ahead and come out again by another 0.5 inches. This is because I don't want my corset to start exactly at my chest line, so that's why I'm going down by 0.5. But if you want yours to begin from your chest line, you can go ahead and just mark 0.5 on your chest line and highlight it just like I've done with my marker. So the next step now is to go ahead and curve the upper part all the way down to that 0.5 inches that I've curved. We are creating our cup now, so please pay attention to this part carefully so you do not make any mistake. So after doing that, now the next step is to curve from that point all the way down to my under bust with my curved rule. So ensure that you are placing your curved rule well. You can see the way I'm trying my best to just get a very nice and neat curve at that point. So I just went ahead to curve it all the way to my under bust just like I did in this video. So you know there's a 3-part corset. It's not like the other corset that we drafted the last time. So what I'm going to do now next is I went ahead to also curve it neatly again, because I realized it didn't curve the way I wanted, so I curved it again. You can go ahead and ensure that yours is properly curved. So you understand that the bust area is usually bigger at one side. So what I'm going to do at that armhole point there, that's I will divide it by 2. I will check what I have there and divide it by 2 to get the midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inches and I'm going to draw a straight line. That place now is going to be a new curve line for this corset. So from that point there, I'm now going to curve it to the upper part that we are working with. Remember, we're not working with the other line, we're working with the new that leg I've drawn at that part. So I'll go ahead and curve it all the way up, just like I've done in this video. So after doing that, the next step is to curve from that point again all the way down to my under bust, just like I'm going to be doing in this video. So I'm just going to place my curve rule neatly to ensure that it's giving me a nice accurate curve, because the bust is usually fuller at that point and we don't want our bust to be all over the place after making this corset. So we're going to be taking this very careful. So the next step after doing this, you can see that our cup is already has formed so beautifully already. So next now is to go ahead and do our 3-part corset. So now from that point, that new armhole line, I'm going to go ahead and measure 3 inches all the way down there, just like I've done with my rule that you saw. Then from that point, that is the center, I'm going to be measuring 2.5 on both sides. So I'll do 2.5 there and I'll do 2.5 on the other that leg. Then I'll come down to this point here, center front, and do another 3 inches. So I'm going to now connect all these lines together. So I did 3 inches on the sides, and at the center I did 2.5 inches because we want it to give a very curvy effect. So I'll just go ahead and use my curve rule to connect these lines just like I've done. I will highlight it again with my marker for you to see clearly what I've done so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and curve it just like I've done. You can see that our 3-part corset has formed really beautifully. So this is what you should have by the time you're done. So the next step now is to go ahead and impute all our measurements. So we're going to be imputing our measurements, our circumference measurement. Then we are going to be replacing the darts that we've taken. So I'll measure the darts that I've taken there and I'll replace it. Then I'll also go ahead to add my stitching allowance to this pattern of 1.5 inches. So I'll do that again for the hemline of this dress, that's the down part. I'll measure my hip circumference measurement there. Then I'll go ahead and replace the dart I've taken, and I'll go ahead and add my 1.5 inches allowance, and I'll connect it with a straight line just like I am doing in this video. So after doing that, now you can see how beautiful our cup has already really formed. So after doing this now, the next step is to go ahead and label. It's very important you label your corset. So label it with numbers, label with arrows, or anything that will make you know that okay, this part is to this part before we cut. And that is what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to label all my pieces together before I cut out. So after labeling my piece together, the next step now is to go ahead and cut it out. Pay attention to how I'm cutting it out, because after cutting we are going to be joining some parts together and I'm going to be showing you how to go about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out neatly now. You can see how I'm cutting it out. I tried as much as I can not to make this video so fast so that you can understand, because like I said, this is a beginner friendly corset tutorial and I want you to be able to get the basic as much as possible. So I'm just going to be cutting out just the way I'm saying, just the way you're seeing on this video. Try as much as you can to take your time to cut your corset out properly. So I'll take out all my darts. Just like I'm doing. So I have a tutorial on how you can go about drafting a corset with a yoke. You can see how I cut out that part. So now the upper part, because this is a 3-part corset, the upper part we are going to be joining it together, and after joining it together we'll go ahead and cut it out on another piece. So after joining it together, you can decide to go and cut it on your fabric, but because I'm not cutting on fabric, I'll show you how you can cut it on fabric using another plain pattern. So just go ahead and join this together just like I'm doing here. I'll go ahead and join it with a tip, and I'll show you how you can cut it on your fabric. I'll place it on another paper like so, and I'll go ahead and trace out. If you have a tracing wheel, you can go ahead and trace it out, but I don't have a tracing wheel right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and pin down. Then I'll go ahead and use my pencil to trace it down properly. After doing this, I'm going to be showing you an easy method on how you can cut the back of your corset, so just stay tuned and let's do this video to the end. So I'll just go ahead and trace it with my pencil just like I'm doing before cutting it out on my fabric. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out just like I'm doing here neatly. So when you're cutting this on your fabric, ensure you add stitching allowance to all your pattern. So I'm just going to label my pattern and put on arrows to know where I'm supposed to stitch and all of that, like I said. So this is what your 3-part corset should look like. So when you're cutting the other center front on your fabric, it should be cut on fold. Ensure you label your pattern. It's very, very important. Label your pattern. If you do not label it appropriately, you might make mistake by the time you are sewing or you are cutting on fabric. So now I'm going to bring another pattern paper, then I'll bring my side, that is my side front, and place it just like so. I'm just going to be tracing this on my new pattern paper to get the back of my corset. So I'm just going to measure about 1 inches. This is going to be for my dart leg, so I'm just going to go ahead and trace this out. I'll pin this on my new pattern paper just like I'm doing. This is an easy method on how you can get your back pattern for your corset. Is very, very easy. So I'll just go ahead and mark where it stop. Then at that side as well, I'll go ahead and mark it just like I'm doing. Then at the center front, I'm going to go ahead and go down by 1 inches, but before then I'll just go ahead and cut out the excess I have on that side because I want it to be very accurate. So I'll go ahead and mark it just like I'm doing, so I know where I want to begin measuring from. So at my center front, for my front, I went down by 1 inches because I want my back pattern to have that curvy effect. So I'll just mark it, and now I can take out my pattern, my front pattern. Then I'll use my rule to go ahead and rule out my back piece. But before I do that, I'll just go ahead and cut the down part to ensure that it's accurate with my front piece. I hope you understand what I've done here. Just pay attention and look what I'm doing. You will understand. It's very easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and rule it just like I'm doing. You know, I've already marked the up part and I've already marked the down part. So I'm going to use a curvy part to curve the top of my pattern, and basically that's all for drafting the back. You can see how easy it really is. So the next step now is to go ahead and take out our dart. You know, I already marked 1 inches for my dart, so I'll measure 4 inches and I'll go out by ½ inch on both sides. Then I'll measure another 4 inches at the upper part to enable me have a straight line. So after marking it, you can see how it's looking like. I'll go ahead and now connect again all the way to the ½ inches that I marked at the down parts, just like I'm doing, just me taking out the darts that we usually do, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut out. Just pay attention. I'm also going to be showing you how you can go about and have that opening at the back if you don't want to use a zipper. I have a tutorial on how you can cut your corset using a zipper. I think I'll include that in the description box for you to also see. So I'm closing my darts now. You can see how I've done it. I'm going to use my masking tape to just pin it down, just like I'm doing here, because I don't want that dart to show. So I'm going to be closing my darts, and after closing my darts, because I'm going to be using a loop for this dress, I'm going to be taking another 2.5 inches out from this, because I want to have that opening effect. If you want yours to be really opened, then you can do as much as 3 to 4 inches, but I'm just going to be doing 2.5 for this particular corset. I'll take out 2.5 inches and I'll mark it just like I've done here, and I'll go ahead and cut it out. So that part now is going to be open at the back by the time I include my loop, and this is our new back pattern. You can see how easy it is. So I'm going to be cutting this as one. I'm not going to be cutting it as two. I'm just going to be cutting it as one, and I'm labeling it just like you've seen. I hope this was very explanatory, and I hope you understand. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.